So, I really don't know why I'm even making this video because I just feel crazy, but at the same time, I feel like everything around me is fake. Um, I've done hallucinogens now 5 times. The first time was great. Just saw cool colors and shit, whatever. Second time was really uncomfortable. I sat with my legs crossed under a table waiting for it to end. Third time, I did a lot of acid. I watched an orgasmic binaural beats hypnotic video, and then all of a sudden, I could rewind and fast forward time with my fingers. Like the energy of time was wrapped around my fingers. I then continued to watch the video, and I felt electricity go from my phone all the way up to my mind, telling me only the strong people make it through. It was like I had universal knowledge. Asked me why there's 7 continents. It was like telepathical knowledge. I was told, I'm a part of a radio, that I'm a radio frequency. I saw my own body in my bed, and there were rainbow glass boxes. One from one of my past memories. The other one was me laying in my bed, and the other one was whatever. And this voice asked me, "Do you want to see your future?" And I said, "No." And they told me, "Do you want to go back to where you were before all this?" I said, "Yes, please take me back." And they said, "You won't remember any of this, blah, blah, blah." I felt myself zoom into my body. I pulled up my pants, and I screamed for my mom, and my mom came and hugged me, and the rest of the time, I was unconscious, going through purgatory or a spiritual trip. I don't know what it was. Then I did shrooms, and I was like, well, acid just did that to me. I just had a bad trip because of acid. So I did it with one of my friends. Her mom's name was Angela. Her name was Angelina. My name is Angela. The mom calls and says, "Oh, is there any, I want to make sure that your friend's going to be okay. I'm not going to have to take her to the hospital." And she's like, "Yeah, it's fine. She's done this before. Everything's fine." And then I was sitting on a playground with her, and she started to look like me. And I'm thinking, she looks like a reflection of me right now. And then she says that to me. She says, "Is it weird that I feel like you're a reflection of me right now?" And then she starts having a bad trip. She can't get up or whatever. I go in her room, test my blood sugar. Her dad starts talking to me. And all of a sudden, I'm just sitting there, darkness, and then I screamed out of nowhere. I don't remember why I screamed. I was just scared. Her mom comes in and says, "Here, why don't you come sit on this blanket?" So I sit down, and I'm thinking something bad's going to happen to me if I don't get up right now. I got up. I started poking at the fence. Logically, I knew I couldn't go through it, but at the same time, I was like, I can go through this thing. There was a well, and it felt like that warp of energy again from the time I was rewinding and fast forwarding time, and it was trying to pull me into it. And I got the vibe that this isn't good. The sky started talking to me. It was like God or I don't know what. And just the whole time, I want to explain everything in detail, but at the same time, I feel like it doesn't matter because everyone around me is just lying to me and deceiving me. It was like one half of the yard was heaven and the other half of the yard was hell. And the girl's dad that I went to her house or whatever was saying, "Oh, you don't belong here, get the fuck out of here, you're on shrooms, aren't you?" and all this other stuff. And it was like the beginning of hell or something. It was like a prison yard with a bunch of inmates. And I went to the other side of the yard, and I did that twice, and then the voice told me, "If you go over there again, we're not going to help you." so I didn't go over there again. I decided I was going to go into her house, and it was like I had different options. Like, whichever room I went into, it was like, where are you going to go? And there were like rainbow paths. I went into her room, and I became my mom, and my dad was already dead. And my acid trip before that told me that I am a reincarnate of my mom, or I'm a part of my mom, and my mom's a part of her mom, and I'm here to set the record straight, whatever that meant. And to go back to my acid trip, I was told that certain people in your life are conscious that they're there in the spiritual world or whatever. They're conscious that they're there to make an impact on your life. And my mom was addicted to drugs. And she met this guy. And you know, I had a freak out. I went to the hospital and stuff. And then 3 days later, my mom puts me into Polinsky, which is like a temporary group home, because she said she needed help. But what I think is that life is a simulation, or it's a controlled game. It's a computer, because I was thrown into Polinsky. So life uses emotions and things like that to distract us from whatever the truth is, right? So I had no time to really think about what was going on, what happened to my acid trip, because I was thrown into that trauma. And then 4 days after my shroom trip, let's go back to this, because I did shrooms after that, like 3 or 4 months later. So I was laying there, and I was tapping my down, like, Tom, that's my dad's name. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and just weird shit happened. It's like, when you're on this stuff and this stuff happens, it's like uncomprehendable. Like, you can't explain everything the right way. And I had experiences where it told me that, like in certain jobs and stuff, there's going to be certain, like, corrupt people, and we're all part of some radio, some part of frequency. I don't know what, but that's what I remember. I remember just being a part of this big, fat program, and I was a radio, and this is all frequency, and it's all controlled. And I remember at the end of my trip, my cousin was talking through my friend, saying, you have to take care of yourself, because I'm diabetic. She's saying you have to take care of your diabetes and all this other stuff. And she said, now look at your phone. And when I looked at my phone, and I was also told by some voice that her family was a bad version of mine, and I need to stay away from them. So, whatever, I looked at my phone, and I was just confused. I didn't understand. I had a text message from one of my my past friends that I was friends with, and then the person that took me in, my foster parent, basically, that's been a part of my life since I was born, and my brother, calls me, and I'm just confused. Like, I feel like everyone's tricking me, and he comes and gets me, and we get in the car, and I feel like I'm being tricked, like I'm on my way back to hell or something. But really, we just ended up here. And then 4 days later, my mom's murdered, and I don't find out till a week later. I remember I was at school at movie night, and I heard these sirens. My mom's boyfriend murdered her. I heard these sirens. I'm like, that'd be weird if my mom had something to do with that. The next morning, everyone's calling me. I get a call, and she's murdered. She's gone. So, 4 days later after my shroom trip, she's murdered, but I don't find out about it till a week. So life throws that at me, like, okay, well, you're not going to have time to think about what you went through. And then I recently did shrooms, because I was like, and the voice told me, if you do this again, you won't come back to reality. So I thought, that was just my head or whatever, like my mind, because I didn't really remember the extent of, like, trauma and stuff that I went through in that trip. And I was on the beach. I was in a good place. Like people say, oh, make sure you're in a good mindset, blah blah. I was with my boyfriend. Everything was fine. And that night my boyfriend was like, oh, I just want to stay here forever with you. And then when we were on the beach, my friend that I always got the shrooms from became this like, so I was hugging my boyfriend. All of a sudden it felt like these roots were sprouting out at me, like knowledge. And I pulled away and I looked at both of them, and they're both like controlled programs that are like meant there to stray your life from something. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't even know why I'm doing this video, because I feel like everything's a lie anyways. When I had my bad acid trip, YouTube or whatever is like a tube. Everything here is a tube. Like we're in some sort of program or tube, and drinking water and going to the bathroom is like all a part of the system. It's all a part of like life, which is a lie. And I remember being on the beach and knowing knowing all this stuff, knowing what 911 was for, knowing what everything was for. And I just started asking my boyfriend questions like, you know, I was trying to outsmart the program. And I remember walking away from the beach, it felt like I was going backwards. Like, it felt like I'd been there before, but at the same time I hadn't. And then I was sitting there just thinking about looking at the houses on the beach and stuff, thinking they're all freaking programs. Like, they're all just blocks. Like artificial. Everything here feels artificial now. And I remember the radio. The knob turned again and was controlling my thoughts. And I remember she was like, oh, let's go home or whatever. And like, I'm going to take you home now. And I got in the car, or before I got in the car, I was like, what would my dad do? And it just wasn't there. You know, I couldn't think about what my mom or dad would do. And I got in the car, and the radio again. And the controlled radio was playing like rock music. And, oh, I forgot to mention, my boyfriend felt like he was connected to my vagina. Like the energy was connected to that. And at the time, I had an IUD. This was like 3 weeks ago. I got my IUD taken out. I'm not having sex with him anymore. And when we were in the car, I put my hand on my head, and I was just like, calm down. Like, I wasn't thinking about anything. Nothing. Just about being okay. And we were just going in a loop on the freeway with the music playing. And then I started thinking, okay, I need to guide my way home. And my boyfriend keeps putting his hand on my thigh, and I keep moving it. And then there's this piano, and his hand runs up my leg, like with the sound of the piano. And then we get to my apartment, and I'm like, I need to take a walk. So we go and we take a walk, and he starts throwing up. Like the computer program is like manipulating me to care about that he's throwing up, and that I need to go back to the house because I'm supposed to care about that. So we went back, and I remember drinking water, and it just felt like the sink felt like it was just a part of that tube, like it was fake. And I took a drink of the water, and it like brought me back to reality slowly, drinking the water. And it was like I was keeping myself from going into this like doom, like I don't know. And everyone I talked to, you know, the whole night I was just crossing your legs and stuff is like, the energy is like you're tied to something way below this earth. Like when you cross your legs, or you do everything we do has a reason. Like when you itch your head, when you rub your nose, it's not just like, oh, that's my body. Like, no, it's energy. Like whatever you're thinking about or doing, your soul or whatever has you itch your nose or cross your legs or stuff. Like right now, I just burped, and my cat just came up to me because I'm thinking about this shit. It happens all the time. And I always thought, oh, it's weird. It's weird how every time I come home, I have to go to the bathroom because I'm like, oh, my body just knows I'm home. It's more than that. Look, my cat's just sitting here, like, staring at me while I'm talking about this shit because my mind is getting deeper and deeper. And people watching this might think, oh, you're crazy. Or the people that are watching this are probably just fake too. I don't even know. I'm trying to see if anyone out there in their life has ever experienced anything like this because I just feel so alone. Like, I feel like this whole life is a lie. Everything's a lie. I feel like everyone around me is deceiving me. Like the other day, I was using the computer and my brother starts cracking his fingers and doing all this. And I remember my trip stretching and cracking your fingers is like them relieving themselves of like some sort of, not stress, like panic that you're realizing stuff. And like looking at myself right now is just so weird on this phone. Like, I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've been thinking about turning to God and stuff. And when I started, so after the shroom trip or whatever, I started dissociating from myself and reevaluating life. And then my phone constantly goes off. Like, our energy, my energy, whatever, is surrounded by the phones. Like, our technology, we're drawn to all of that. And our energy bounces off all of that. And I remember my acid trip, it told me we're all energy, we're all light. And it's like when I start dissociating from myself or not using my phone goes off. Like the computer program that I'm in is like conform, and like trying to make me care about people and things. And the other night I was laying with my boyfriend and I chose not to swallow my saliva. And he's just sitting there like swallowing his saliva over and over again. If anyone out there is like not a part of the program and they don't realize it, can you guys try to like see what everyone around you is doing like when you do something? I don't even know. I don't even think anyone is ever going to watch this, but if somebody out there is going through or has gone through what I've gone through, we need to like talk because I'm just speechless at this point. So